Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's joint board meeting between Wiseburn Unified School District and Da Vinci Schools. It's great to see everybody here together. Fantastic. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. And Wendy, would you please take roll call?
Yes. Mr. Martinez,
Present?
Mr. Banuelos,
Present.
Dr. Golden. Absent. Ms. Cappy, absent. Ms. Legaspi, present. Joe Weber,
Present.
Ray Santiago.
Here.
Raul Ochoa,
Here.
Brian Mee,
Here.
Derek Boston,
Here.
Leslie Haima. Anyway, she's in Zoom land. Thank you.
Mr. Wallace, would you please lead us in flag salute?
He's a doctor, man.
Oh, Dr. Wallace. Congratulations.
Right hand over your heart. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we have three presentations this evening. First presentation will be from Mr. Tom Vanderart with regards to portrait of a learner. I always want to say profile of a learner, but it's portrait of a learner and AI in education. Looking forward to that. We also have a second presentation from Christina Jobert and Carla Levinson on community initiatives taking place. Looking forward to hearing more about that. And we will round up the presentations with Ms. Noemia Vila Zamudio providing us with a facilities update. I just wanted to take a moment also too to really thank both organizations for really the effort and the emphasis that's taking place between both organizations and just communicating and collaborating on some of these initiatives. And I think that will be highlighted this evening. So I just wanted to, I think a lot of great work is taking place. I just want to thank both organizations for that. And in particular, Matt and Blake, who are doing, I think, a great job on working together and collaborating. Appreciate that. And I think we'll see glimpses of this through the presentations this evening. At this point, Matt, do I turn it over to you or Blake for the introductions? Maybe the both of you?
What do you want to do?
Matt,
Oh,
if you wanted.
well,
Matt,
for-
if you wanted to.
You know, my vice president here is keeping me in check. I actually skipped right through the adoption of the agenda. So before I do that, do I have a motion on the agenda? Thank you, Joe. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Back to us.
Back to you. Back to you for introductions. Why don't you?
Sure. Thank you. So we had the honor and opportunity to introduce Tom Vander Ark at a convening some time ago, and it was about a 5-minute introduction, to which he was a little embarrassed. I was a little embarrassed, but I could go on and on and on, but we'll spare you. So when we started this work to create high schools, we had read the research that was about early college work and the power of that. And it was really Tom's work at the Gates Foundation when he was there that was inspiration. And so we have followed his writings for the last 20 years or so of everything he's done to advance greater opportunities for students in K-12. And, you know, his more recent foray and expertise is in artificial intelligence and an impact on education, not just K-12, but into higher ed as well. So I won't burn a lot more time. I will just say it's an honor, and Blake and I are grateful to have Tom here to share two different concepts. One is, as Nelson, you said well, about a portrait of a learner, sometimes known as portrait of a graduate. And also how we want to make sure we're not behind in all the implications of AI within education. So
I would say too, I think Matt did a great job of summarizing that. One thing that's exciting about this prospect is being able to look at some sort of pathways articulation from TK or 6 all the way through 12 plus. Being able to see how we can work together to figure out what a learner in our schools looks like, what the learners look like, what that profile looks like together. It's a much stronger conversation, a much more important conversation than us doing it individually. So just excited about that opportunity. We talk about articulation. I know we've been in 3x3 meetings, with Ray and Joe and Roger and Nelson, talking about that articulation. I would think it starts here. It really does start in some way looking at the learners for both. Thanks for bringing it. Matt was thankful to Matt for bringing this opportunity to us.
So with that, Tom, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
A long time to sit, Tom.
Thank you, Blake.
Welcome, Tom.
President Martinez, President Weber, and the school board members, it's a pleasure and honor to be with you. I want to start just by saying thank you for your service on these respective boards. It's much harder than the general public knows, but it's important and valuable work. So I really appreciate the service that each of you are extending to this Weisburn community. I have for 30 years, by the way, supported and served in school districts and charter schools, and I really appreciate the collaborative nature of this partnership. I have experienced dozens of these, but yours is really unique and important. Recently, we've had the Getting Smart team that I lead has been working in Cajon Valley USD in East San Diego County, and they have a close partnership with Bostonia Global. We were instrumental in helping to convert Bostonia Global into a TK-12 school that now serves many of the Cajon Valley students, and so that's been a really important partnership. And very recently, they both went through the portrait of a graduate or the learner profile process. And while they didn't come out with exactly the same profile, that community had a really deep and rich conversation that resulted in really well-aligned learning goals between the K-8 school district and the charter high school that they're associated with. So it's a relevant and similar project to what we'll talk about tonight. I had the good fortune to spend a few minutes with the Weisburn board recently, and I'll briefly just reiterate a couple of the comments that I made the other night. Point one is AI is a really big deal. It really it seems very clear now, like a year and a half into this new age of generative AI, that we're in a new era. My whole career was 40 years of the information age where we use computers to calculate, and we were able to use a lot of data to make better decisions more quickly. But what's happened in the last 18 months is something quite different. We've been introduced to a set of reasoning engines, creation engines that keep surprising us at how good they are, how smart they are, how they learn from data. And so the rise of these smart engines is the first change. The second change is the way we interact with them. The natural language interface, the UI is fundamentally different. And I was remarking to Superintendent Silvers that the capabilities are changing about every 4 to 6 months in a really profound way. And just since we talked 2 weeks ago, we've had a series of all the leaders making really profound announcements. OpenAI and Microsoft and Google all announced a new category of capabilities that are pretty mind-boggling. They also did some really dumb stuff. And so to me, that doesn't raise confidence that these companies are moving very, very quickly, but not always taking the precautions that they should be. It does seem clear, though, that working and learning are going to be very, very different very, very quickly. Maybe the most profound change, even all these new capabilities that have been introduced that are available right now on almost any device, anywhere, that's a big deal. But maybe even more significant is in the last 12 months, the predictions of how quickly we'll achieve highly capable AI or even super AI have been pulled in from end of century to end of decade. And that makes me think about Weisburn sixth graders that will graduate from a high school, maybe a Da Vinci high school, by 2030. And it seems quite clear that by the end of the decade, there will be highly capable AI that will be a full partner in the way they live, learn, work, and play. And so profound capabilities today, surprisingly profound capabilities on the very short-term horizon. That suggests to me that this is a really important change that we need to begin to build into our plans and our practice. Point number two is I think the first implication is that that generative AI suggests that we need new learning goals and probably new experiences and new signals. By signals, I mean we've used report cards and grades and transcripts that are a list of courses as the primary way we've communicated human capability, and those are quickly becoming obsolete. So I think we have an opportunity over the next year or so to update the way we describe our learning goals, what young people need to know and be able to do. Update our vision of what powerful learning looks like from TK to 12th grade and beyond. And then begin to develop a new set of signals that better allow young people to tell their story, to communicate their capabilities. As President Martinez mentioned, thousands of school districts around the country are using this opportunity to have a community conversation about what young people should know and be able to do. How has the world changed as a result? What do kids need to know and be able to do? And then what kind of experiences will help produce those skills? That is a valuable process, it turns out. Inviting the community in to dialogue about what's happening in the world and what it means is a really useful conversation. We've seen a few places try to sprint towards redefining their goals without doing that, and that doesn't work very well. It really is useful to have a community conversation about what's happening and what it means and how it updates how we think about our learning goals. What the answers are, how your learner profile or your learning goals will change is not crystal clear. We're really working this out, but it does seem, I was talking with the superintendent a minute ago, that it does seem that that problem solving and creativity, communication are going to continue to be really important. It also seems clear that in many cases we'll be doing that with a new teammate, that we'll be using smart tools when we take on complicated problems, when we're designing a building or designing a park or designing a rocket, that we're going to do that with smart tools. Most new work is going to be done by diverse teams working on new problems with smart tools. And so it feels to me like at least some of our education ought to mirror that we ought to invite young people to do, to take on difficult problems and do it in a team, and have some experience using smart tools. So to cut to the chase, I think you have a really interesting joint opportunity to have a community conversation over the next year about what the Weisburn community, what their aspirations are for young people and how you can express those, and maybe even do it together in a joint fashion. Maybe like Cajon and Bostonia, you'll come up with something that's aligned but a little different, but still the product of having had a community conversation about what's happening. So that's number 2, time for new learning goals. And I think you have a really interesting opportunity to do something together in this regard. Number 3 is there's some priorities when it comes to AI. And I do appreciate that both boards have brought this up and started working on it. The first implication of AI is that I think for both organizations, AI literacy has to be a new and urgent priority. It's really critical that the leadership of both organizations, I think, makes a statement. You can make it in policy, you can do it in procedure, but I think it's important for you to express in a positive way that you need and want your teachers to be literate in these new capabilities, and that you want young people to be literate about these new tools, both the direct use of these tools, but also the indirect aspects of using social media that's driven by artificial intelligence. So AI literacy for teachers and digital literacy more broadly for students, I think is a new and urgent priority. And I'd love to see both organizations update their acceptable use policies. I don't think either organization has yet achieved clarity and specificity on sort of how and when AI will be used. I think you have an opportunity to do that. Should be done sometime in the next year, I think. Second, I think it's important to invite teachers, at least teacher leaders, to begin investigating powerful ways that AI is being used in today's classrooms, both to plan lessons, to develop content and curriculum, to act as a tutor and a coach for young people, to co-author projects with young people. The Da Vinci team has some useful experience on this front. On the tutoring front, I spent the day in LAUSD schools, and they have a very interesting pilot with an application called ED. And ED started just as a parent chatbot. So parents can interact with a chatbot on when does school start, what day does school start, what's for lunch today, how's my kid doing in school? And they have been building learning applications on top of that are extending the learning day for right now for students in priority schools, but next year it will be for every student in LAUSD. And so I think that's an interesting, productive response by LAUSD. I think it's time for you to begin considering similar applications and when and how you want to introduce those, both kindergarten to 8th grade as well as in high school. So that's the second implication, that AI literacy is a clear and urgent priority. And then I think it's important to begin maybe a joint effort to begin to study when and how and where you'll invite teachers to use AI, and when young people, particularly at the secondary level, will have access to smart tools. I'll leave my comments there, but appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this important subject. I'm happy to take any questions or just listen in as you talk about this.
Thank you, Tom. Any comments, questions from my colleagues?
Well, just an overarching comment, question that probably would lead to further conversation if we could have it afterwards. But, you know, in general, as humans, our learning has been experience-based. That's how you develop knowledge and judgment. And so if I'm a teacher, let's say, to start on that side, and I've been teaching for 5-10 years, then I know what a curriculum looks like. And if I put a prompt into ChatGPT to say, give me lesson plans on how to, you know, teach fractions, and I get something back, I know, well, okay, this would work, but this is where students might get confused. But if I do that fresh out of college without that experience, and I'm using now a partner, as you say, I don't have that judgment. I don't have that knowledge to be able to say, when I get an answer back, is this right, or where could it go wrong? How do you think about that?
It's a really profound comment. With the superintendent, we were just having a similar comment about the question, should we still teach children to write? Is that going to be important in the future? And I think it is, but I think the way in which we teach them to write is different. At least some of the time, we'll invite them to use a co-author to brainstorm ideas, to draft portions, to edit, to receive feedback. And so the same is going to be true for teaching, that the act of teaching will relatively quickly become different. Teachers will have a teaching assistant that they'll be able to use to develop lessons, develop content, to provide performance feedback. But learning that, I do think, is the often best the product of experience, of seeing it. This is part of the reason that I'm a big fan of school visits. I have probably visited more schools than anybody on the planet. And that's how I learn, by seeing other people doing things that I couldn't have imagined. And so I do think experiential learning for teachers is going to be really important and give them the time and space to learn about new capabilities by seeing it in other environments. Second answer would be, I think, particularly post-pandemic, when we realized that this is a team sport. I think personalized learning, mastery-based learning is something you can't really do by yourself, and that we have to invite teachers into teams so that they're learning together to use smart tools. So I think that's another implication, and we need to think differently about how we staff and how we support teachers and do it in teams. Any of that make sense?
Certainly it does. But I think when you get to the student side, it becomes even more complicated. You know, I mean, again, I don't want to monopolize it, but if you're a student and you're learning how to count, right? You have manipulatives and you have you know, exercises that you do, and so you develop a sense that 2 + 3 is 5. And you know that if you get the answer 7 or 10, you're not there. But if you start off by just in a question, what's 2 + 3? You get 5. You go, okay, that's the answer. How do you gauge? How do you develop that judgment and experience? That's for me, one of the sort of philosophical questions of how we will use this new technology. in a way that doesn't short circuit our ability to develop and exercise our own judgment.
It's a profound comment. I'm a big believer in work-based learning and experiential learning and place-based learning. These are all real experiences in our lives. But it's interesting that I think AR and VR are beginning to become important substitutes, or at least supplements of immersive learning, that we can create powerful experiences in a digital way that come alongside real world learning experiences. But how we develop the wisdom and judgment about what's real and what's not, what's true and what's not, what's a priority, I think is an open question. It is clear that we're going to spend more time curating and editing than we have in the past, and those are acts of judgment and teaching that step from information to knowledge to wisdom. I don't know if it's something that we can short circuit. I think that's the question of how AI is going to influence that progression.
I think it was very profound, and I think the reason is because we haven't seen anything like this.
Right.
AI is something completely different. You know, human beings, we all learn from trial and error. We don't pick up where our parents' knowledge left off. We start from the beginning. And AI is about to completely change that. And Tom, you know, I really appreciate some of the things you were talking about, the AI literacy. We have to help the teacher, like saying to a teacher, go and teach quantum physics, right? You can't just say to people, go and teach AI. It's so broad. So I think we have to put together tools, and I think this is something we do together. This is a K through career situation we're dealing with, and we have to have tools that first help the teachers understand AI, what it is. A lot of people don't know what it is, how it works. Why now? Why didn't we do AI 50 years ago? Well, we did. We actually did. But most people, what they see today is because of the power of computers that we've now got, we're now able to almost deliver it on a personal level. So I think I really applaud what you're saying there, making sure we get the teachers so that they understand this tool and how it can be used, how it can be used in good ways and bad ways. I think, you know, updating acceptable use policies, I think that's going to be a constant thing because this thing is rapidly evolving. I heard you saying it's going to go from, you know, usable forms to at the end of 2030. I bet it's faster. I can just see this thing gaining every day. And, you know, I think we do need to move quickly on this. So really appreciate, you know, you bringing this to our attention, bringing us together to really look at the implications of this for learning and for our teachers as well.
Thank you, President Weber. I appreciate your leadership in STEM education, and I just want to say that what's most important to me right now is that we lead with a sense of possibility. I think I've seen a lot of districts in the last year lead with a sense of fear. Some have banned the use of generative AI. Many are just sort of blocking it or defaulting to teachers and saying you can't use it unless a teacher says so and under these circumstances. I think we have the opportunity to, in a wise fashion, particularly at the secondary level, to invite kids into the sense of possibility that you can do more than anyone on earth has ever been able to do. You have access to more powerful tools and the ability to add value to your community right now, right here. That, I think, is an extraordinary gift. And one thing that you could do together is create this sense of possibility that Weisburn community kids have a chance to do more than was ever possible. If you can lead with that spirit, and just imagine introducing kids to STEM fields with that spirit of possibility, I think that's a real gift because I want I want your sixth graders that graduate in 2030 to leave with a real sense of possibility that they're empowered humans able to do more, to make their community better than anybody ever has. And at the same time, we really have to be more proactive about safeguarding them, particularly from the damaging ways that that social media is invading their lives. We have to be more conscious about that. Joe, you've mentioned that AI has been around for a long time, and that since 2016, 17, it's pervaded every screen that we look at. And we're not doing enough to let our kids know that every screen that you look at is being driven by an algorithm that's trying to capture your attention. And for many of our young people, it's really doing damage. So we have to build some practices together as families, as communities, to help kids be more intentional about how they interact with these tools. So there's that paradox of the promise of possibility that's greater than it's ever been, but also these the dangers of unintentional usage. So we need to do both of those and relatively quickly.
Question.
Tom, you mentioned working with Cajon Valley USD and Bostonian. They already developed their profile of a
Yes.
learner, correct? Now, did they develop the profile for meaning like K-12 and beyond? Or what I mean by that is elementary, middle, and high school students? Because obviously at that age group, they're not all the same.
Yes.
Is it one continuous profile to help with articulation, or can you share a little bit of what that looks like? What did that entail? What is that profile?
Yeah. Profile of a learner is often better than a portrait of a graduate. Makes you think it's just a set of graduation requirements, right? But a profile of a learner is usually built in grade spans. It might be primary and intermediate and middle and lower division, upper division. So it might be expressed in 4 or 5 different grade bands, each with a progression, so that you can, so that it's a useful set of rubrics that you can use to construct and assess learning experiences. So something, there's hundreds of schools in the New Tech network, for example, and they use a set of these grade span rubrics in oral communication, written communication, problem solving, learner agency, and critical thinking. And teachers there can use those rubrics to build project-based learning experiences and then assess those. The neat thing about that use is that students know and use those rubrics, and they can assess their own work. They can peer assess other students' work. And so that's when it's really valuable, when kids own their own learning goals and they can describe where I am today and what I need to do to get better. That's really where the magic happens. So you'd want to have a conversation with your community about the high-level learning goals. And then one nice thing about AI is that it used to take us a couple of weeks to build learning progressions from K to 12, and now it takes about a minute. All right. So that is a really helpful development.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I would just like to say, everything that you brought up is, it's getting me thinking, and I think what I always want to bring us back to is with the vertical articulation of our very youngest students, and you talked about experiential learning, our children are still going to develop, in the same way that children will. Their experiences will be changed as they grow. They'll be exposed to things a lot sooner, but they're still going to learn how to count with solid objects in front of them, we would hope. Will they have more of an experience in the digital world? Most definitely. And I think keeping an eye, and so that reaffirms this idea that everything that we're still doing is very valuable. We as teachers just have to reframe and not lose sight of what is coming at us in a tidal wave. right? It feels like a tidal wave. And to get in front of it is really what is our job and was paramount in what we do from here on out. As a teacher, I feel that the soft skills, the things that we need to build into this, like teaching integrity, teaching, because those are the things that are going to be the foundation of using these powerful tools. And having these tools in our schools and not making them feel like they're cheating, right? That is, I think, just anecdotally, I have a student in my class who turned in something and she's like, I worked really hard on this. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, yeah, and so I pulled her aside and I just said, hey, this is really great work. And I'm so happy that you're proud of it, but I need you to have an honest conversation with me about how much input you put into it, because you know what, your prompts, and I kind of said it like, your prompts, really make a difference. And this is you, but I need to know how much of it is you so that I know how to assess you, right? And she kind of looked at me, and she's like, oh, you got me, and so it was a very, it wasn't punitive, it wasn't, I'm not like, gotcha, but they have all the tools for that. You can run it through the AI detector, right? Which I've done numerous times with a student. But getting her to a point where she feels comfortable enough to tell me, here's my prompt and here's what came out. And then having her be able to refine her prompt and then be able to go into what was given to her and really make it her own. That's the creative part of it, right? That's the part that we need to look at and then assess, right? Because that's where the learning is. So in my experience, I think building in this idea that it is a smart tool and getting them over this idea that this is new, this is going to help me cheat or whatever. But also at the same time building in the integrity that students need to have with their work.
Any other comments or questions? Tom, thank you. Obviously, this is a big topic, robust program that is rapidly changing and changing the world, really. I think my comments echo a lot of the sentiments of my colleagues. I think you heard me at the last board meeting, Tom. And I think you mentioned it with social media, is having, I think we're here, I think we have to embrace this, absolutely. But the guide rails that I think is going to be something that I think we can collectively work on as a board. And I think this is a great opportunity for Weisbrod and Da Vinci to work on, just on the implementation, because kind of, Derek, to your comment, I mean, when you're talking about the K students and K-5 program, I think that would be very different from middle school or high school, right? I mean, you do certainly want them to have that experience. So, I think definitely an opportunity for both boards to work together on a big program. So thank you again, Tom.
Thank you. Bring you back a fully baked plan by the end of the week, and it's okay.
Perfect.
Use AI and work it tonight.
We would really like to see your prompts.
I mean, let's refine those prompts.
And bring it back tomorrow.
Thank you again, Tom, and
Expectations.
we're on schedule. Carla Levinson and Christina Joubert will provide us an update on, I think, some community initiatives, right?
Thank you for having me and allowing me to present with my counterpart here, Carla. So when I was building this presentation, I was blown away by all the community initiatives and all of the bridge building, all of the Better Together that happened within our Weisbrod community, within our Da Vinci community, within the schools, the PTSAs. And so I know that the Da Vinci board is familiar with a lot of this, if not all of it. And I know that the Weisbrod board is not as familiar with it. So thank you for giving us all the opportunity to share it with you, because we're really, really proud of not just what's been accomplished, but also really proud of all of the leaders, both boards, Dr. Silvers, Dr. Wonder, all of the leaders within the organizations who have allowed good to happen, because good is just good to do. And so with that, it's long and I am a woman of many words. And I wanted to make sure I was thorough. That said, I'll stick to the time limit as best I can. So this just buzzed in my hand. Click again. The timer, thank you. It's still not showing. We practiced. Okay, so is that working now? Am I doing this one now?
Yeah, go
Okay, cool. Thank you. So throughout the presentation, we use the term WDV community initiatives. And I just wanted to call out that what we believe it means is that it's the initiatives that benefit the schools, the families, and the kids the schools serve. So rather than it being one org's initiatives or one org's opportunity or one org's doing, it's the collective Weisberg Da Vinci community and all of the people that get served by the actions of any one person within any one org. So throughout this presentation, we'll go through 5 different areas where we've partnered and done amazing stuff. We'll talk about the PTSA events that we've done, the WDV community events, the TK through 12 performing arts articulation, and the WDV performing arts expansion. We'll talk about summer in Weisburn and building out our summer camp program. I have a lot of details for you guys on that just to make sure that you're aware of what's happening. And then we'll talk a little bit about co-branding and cross-promoting and how that's happened within the WDV community. So our PTSA events, this is a picture from the Dia de los Muertos event at Holly Glen Elementary. The person on the left is one of the Da Vinci students at DVD. And that's a family from one of the elementary schools that was on the right. So we have had, gosh, Carla, what's the number? 7, 8 events total? 9 events. 9 events total. We'll talk about all of them. But our first one was October 27th at Spooktacular with Weisberg Middle School. I know that the high school students typically volunteer and they come out big, and the event couldn't happen without them. But what was different this year is Carla and I planned with the PTA, and we were on call after call for months. How can we help? What can we do? How can we make sure kids show up? What should they know? We bought T-shirts to make sure that kids were able to recognize each other, even on campus, and realize like, wow, we're here together. We're all together, so that families could recognize the students, etc. DVSF donated Earls on Crenshaw $5,000 worth of hot dogs to offset the cost, to increase the profit. And then we had the parent staff, Da Vinci parent and staff trick or treat booth, which was fun, and being able to engage with families and have families come and talk to us about the kids that they now see that they never knew were there. And that they got to learn about the high schools as a result of talking to. And so it was a really beautiful event. The next event was on November 3rd, Dia de los Muertos, the event from the original picture there at Holly Glen Elementary. 38 high school students volunteered for this. And this event was unlike anything that we may do again in the future, but it was a huge lift. We made it a project-based learning opportunity for the DVD students, where they literally drew the designs. They conceptualized what art they wanted to draw on the faces of babes. They drew it out, they decided the colors, they got approval from the PTSA in order that the designs were approved, and then they decided what materials they needed to buy, they told us what to buy, what colors, the schemes, everything, and then they came and they showed up. And they did an amazing job. There was face painting, there was storytelling, and picked out books, they read to kids, craft making. It was really a beautiful opportunity to see the smiles on everyone's faces, including the students at all ages and their families. DVSF also donated, as I'm sure you saw, for some of the materials. Family Craft Night on December 1st happened at Aviation Elementary. 12 high school students volunteered. We helped, they helped make the crafts with the kids. DVSF donated the churro vendor, which I was the ticket taker for that, which was best place to be. And then DVSF donated the photo booth as well. And that was another event that the students just showed up for. You think 12 isn't a big deal, but the event wouldn't have happened without the students because there were no or very few parent volunteers. And so kids were at each table, helping the kids, taking the tickets, making the crafts, and everyone was full of laughs. And it was really another heartwarming event, of course, in the blue t-shirts that Steve Wallace designed. for the kids to wear. The next event was Bear Bazaar at Holly Glen Elementary as well. This is their biggest fundraising event. 42 high school students volunteered. Again, face painting, gift wrapping, but what was different about the face painting here is we had students who were not artists, not drawers, and had never painted a face in their life show up and learn how to do it. And with each student, they got better and they built more confidence in themselves. The kids were happy no matter what was on their faces. And so it was another beautiful opportunity for the kids within all of the communities we serve and all of the schools to come together to be better together. Da Vinci also donated 4 gift certificates for summer programming for a value of $1,400, and DVSF donated the materials and supplies. And then we have another family craft night at Del Air. So you guys will all see, and I don't know if we've ever called this out to our Da Vinci trustees, but we were at every school within the district at some point during the course of the last 5 months, 6 months, to participate in some sort of PTSA event. At the Family Craft Night at Del Air, we had 24 high school student volunteers. The students worked one-on-one with the kids and families to take the tickets and make the crafts. In this event, as you can see in the pictures below, the PTSA was having a very hard time getting parent volunteers. So without the students there, there's no way we could have helped. I mean, Carla and I were blown away, and she and I were at every event. We were blown away at the number of families that turned out and how thankful we were that the kids showed up. And to that point, Carla's created an incredible process for reaching out to the kids, letting them know when events coming up, giving them the opportunity to sign up, following up with them, telling them where the front door is, how to get there, what to know, what to wear, what to bring. And so we couldn't do any of it without that and without the students and without their families who transport them to these events that are almost always on Friday night or Saturday. Or Saturday morning. And then we had a movie night at Black Box on March 8th that included some private tours of the 201 campus. We had about 150 students and families. DVSF paid for the food, drinks, and the movie license for Gran Turismo. We had high school student ambassadors who facilitated private tours throughout. And there was a boys volleyball game going on that the families got to see. There was rehearsals for the Adams family that were happening. And then of course, as y'all know about your middle school students, there were some who just didn't want to watch the movie, whose parents had dropped them off. And so the security team was there to make sure that they were kind of collected into one area and watched over until they could be safely picked up. But those are pictures from that event as well. It was really fun. And throughout the process, we've collected some thoughts from some of the PTSA leaders and just sharing their gratitude for the opportunity to partner. As I said, Carla and I, multiple calls with every one of these events, and just working through and understanding how can we help, what can we do. As you can see, Hadley Porter, and just to paraphrase, the ability to partner and to work with the office staff in helping us plan, the students and staff who gave their time and energy to the event. This year was more support than ever. There was a real sense of camaraderie, of togetherness, and what can we do to be even better individually and collectively. And then Jill Striff, president of Holly Glen Elementary School, for Dia de los Muertos event. The children loved face painting. It was really, really magical to watch. The storytellers did a great job in the auditorium. She was very pleased with everything and very grateful for the opportunity to come together. Of course, we wouldn't be complete without understanding what the high school volunteers thought as well, right? And so a lot of them said when we polled them and did a survey, thank you, Carla, a survey, they said it felt good to know that the whole school was there supporting each other and to have my friends around me while volunteering. That's spectacular. It was a lot of fun seeing the kids smile and have fun. I like that I felt like I was making a lot of kids happy by playing with them, especially when they won the game. And again, I'm just going through, but you guys can see. One thing that I think we realized during the course of these last few months and doing these events too was that the blue shirt mattered. Like the kids being able to recognize each other, families being able to recognize the kids, everyone realizing we really are together. So the next space we want to take you into is the WDV community events. So these are the events that have been hosted that bring together all of the families and all of the kids that the schools touch. We have had 201 campus tours, community tours led by Steve Wallace and student ambassadors. Those started in the fall of 2023, and they happened on most Mondays at 1 p.m. So there was a relative predictability that families could sign up, tell their friends about them. We had about 200 people attend, and there were 15 tours. It happened until up till recently. The tours, the attendees went to the floors. They got to see what real life was. I heard feedback from people that would say, like, it was really cool. It's one thing to take a tour of the schools, and it's another to take a tour where they're in school. And to really be able to see the interaction, see the engagement was really highly valued by families who were touring. They would also see the Weisberg Da Vinci Gym and the performing arts classes when those were in session as well. There was also the Weisberg Da Vinci Community Aviation Day that was held, first time ever, co-sponsored with Weisberg USD, Web, and Da Vinci. There were more than 400 attendees who showed up to that event despite the rain. Fantastic activities for the kids, including flight simulation experiences, building model airplanes, flying gliders that were branded DV and Weisberg USD, and Machine Cup at the high school students. And if you look in the picture in the top right, that's the co-branding that was done, which is really amazing. More than 12 community aviation organizations and partners hosted booths with fun aerospace activities, and El Segundo PD brought their drone for the kids to engage with. Rock Around the Block, May 4th, 100+ student volunteers that were running the games, activities booths, the robotic booth, and then we had the WDV summer camp booth. Then we had Spring Into SWE, which is the Society of Women Engineers. That was the most recent, just last week, I believe, weekend before last, actually. 30+ WDV 3rd through 5th graders. So that represents students from all orgs that were attending that. Fun STEM activities and challenges to inspire youth, especially girls, to get excited about STEM, and successful female role models in STEM, or a successful female role model from STEM. Y'all know what I mean. In STEM from Northrop. Any questions before I continue?
This question,
Yeah, go ahead.
on the WDV Community Aviation Day, did by chance the Los Angeles World Airports participate in that? Did Lowell
did.
participate in that?
They did.
Fantastic. I will be reaching out to you.
it's so
I do
funny
have
about
an upcoming meeting with some representatives from Lowell, and they have I mentioned this at our Weisberg board not too long ago, and in our 2x2s. They're in the middle of a $30 billion capital improvement program at the airport. There's going to be opportunities for internships, grants, and participation. So with our schools. So it's very nice to hear that they're already participating within our schools at these events. So thank you for the invitation, and let's please keep talking about that. Let's see how we can maximize those opportunities.
You know, it's funny, I actually had all 12 written in here, and I'm like, that's too many words. No one's going to care about those details.
Guilty.
So we're going to move next into the WDV Performing Arts expansion, which has also been truly amazing to watch and to witness and to be a part of it in whatever small way I can. The WDV Performing Arts expansion, we're just going to take a peek at what the program looked like in 2022 to 23, and then what we're 2023 to 24 looks like. And there's about 2 more slides of 23 to 24, so buckle up. When we look at 22 to 23, the investment was around $50,000 towards performing arts. It generated no revenue. There were 2 performing arts classes and ensembles across TK through 12. And when I say across TK through 12, I mean within the Da Vinci framework of school, so connect through 12. And then about 50 high school students enrolled in the performing arts classes and ensembles with 1 part-time teacher. The 23-24 school year, the budget is, or was, around $400,000 towards performing arts, which included 2 full-time teachers, 9 performing arts industry professionals to teach seminars, around $40,000 invested for the Addams Family Musical, $40,000 in new instruments, 4 upright pianos, 100 licenses for music production software. The program also generated $12,000 in revenue for its first paid performances. Not paid performances, but performances where people bought tickets, ticket sales revenue. There were now 12 performing arts classes and ensembles, around 400 high school students enrolled in the performing arts classes and ensembles. So that includes seminars, that includes theater, choir, all of it. And then the Connect TK through 8 kids were given access to performing arts this year with 150 students who enrolled and took the opportunity to have access as well. So now you guys can officially say that every kid TK through 12 who goes to school within the district or within an organization authorized by the district has access to the performing arts. More on
I'm
the,
gonna interrupt you there. That deserves an applause. That is amazing.
more on the performing arts. There's 300 hours of the Connect K choir and theater that they received during this last school year. 4,200 audience members across all shows watched our WDD kids in some way, shape, or form perform. There was at least one performing arts class at each of the 5 high schools, including acting, music production, tech theater class at 2 of the 3 201 schools. DVS didn't have tech theater, but they will next year. Just due to timing and then schedules, it didn't work this current school year, but they will have it for 24-25. There were daily shuttle transporting students from Rise and Connect High School to the 201 campus so that they could also participate in the performing arts ensemble classes. The schedules were aligned at the 201 schools to be able to offer the ensemble of classes for theater, choir, studio, orchestra, and percussion for the first time, bringing together students from all 5 high schools. So you'll see just in the sub-bullet, studio, orchestra, and percussion were during school hours. So that was all the kids from all 5 schools during school hours, during a seminar session, and then the theater and choir were after school. Both the Vinci High School and Connect TK through 2 choirs performed at Rock Around the Block, which was the first time that happened with the TK through 2 kids. And then there were new performing arts hoodies that were purchased and worn by the kids, again, showing that team spirit and that better together mentality. So just a few more firsts. We partnered with Wiseburn USD, we partnered with Wiseburn USD and WEF to develop the TK through 12 articulation. The group met 4 times. So representatives from Wiseburn USD, it was Sarah Nitzos, Dr. Silvers, as well as representatives from WEF, Aaron Keller, and Nick McLaughlin. And then the Da Vinci team met to talk about the TK through 12 articulation. We analyzed data, evaluated it, discussed it, made decisions about programming. More than 1,600 people were hosted at the winter concert in the gymnasium. 6-show run of the spring musical of the Addams Family. 2 shows sold out, as you guys may or may not know, and then 4 nearly sold out. They started the Band Bash, a student-led organization and student-organized concert in the Black Box featuring 4 student bands, student hosts, student running sound and lights. They started the open mic nights, hosted 3 of those throughout the school year where kids could come and do poetry or sing or play music. They surveyed students, high school students and families about performing arts and interests. Surveyed the Wiseburn Middle School 8th grade students this year for the first time about their interest in performing arts and what the continuum could and should look like for them. And then the Connect kids, as I mentioned, gained access to the performing arts through school, and then the summer enrichment camp in theater. For the first time, there's a theater for summer enrichment for kids here that goes all the way down to TK. And here's just some pictures when you think about that original slide of 50 kids enrolled last year, and you look at now all of the students and all of the things that are happening and all that they're doing and all their smiles. It's amazing to be a part of. And thank you to all the leaders who make it happen. Next year, these are what we anticipate for the 24-25. Anticipate a similar budget. We anticipate similar numbers of shows. We anticipate similar seminars being offered. We actually just met earlier today and confirmed with the WEP and the Wiseburn USD group, confirmed what will be offered next year in taking that survey data into account as well. We're planning meetings with the performing arts teachers. This came out of our meeting earlier today. Blake knew breaking news, as he said, to meet with the performing arts teachers and the principals at the Wiseburn Middle School to share what the programming will be for the high schools so that they are aware of here's what's happening next year. Here's what's going to start happening within the high schools. And so they can begin to think about things happening at the middle school as well. And how to prepare kids, and are there other opportunities to just talk among the teachers. We anticipate a wonderful year performing arts at the schools, and we anticipate opportunities for mentorships between high school and the lower levels at some point in the future years. And again, what students are saying about theater and asking them. Before theater class, I didn't know half the people here, and now I can't imagine my life without them. This was, I asked them after their very first theater performance together, the high school students. I didn't know most of the people here because we go to different schools, but I made a lot of friends, even with people I didn't think would like me or let me into their group, and they did. I've been around these people for such a short amount of time. I already know them so well. The long and the short of it is that theater is changing the lives of the kids whose lives are changing because of it. And that's important and valuable and meaningful to everybody within all the organizations. And so summer camp, and I know that I am nearing time. If y'all want me to stop, just let me know.
I just
We
got a
would
quick
dare.
comment. We're gonna let you go, but I just got a quick comment. You know, not only did you guys set up a performing arts program this year, I don't know how many of you know this, when kids perform a high school musical, you don't sell out. You don't sell out 6 nights of people wanting to get to see this. It was absolutely tremendous. And that wasn't the only production. I think one of the things we need to think about is, can you do this again next year with the same budget? Because I do think you've opened something here. And that, the musical was standing room only. You could not, there were so many kids that wanted to perform. And I think next year you're just going to have more. Because I think you've delivered something really special to each one of the children in our community. And I really want to thank you and Carla. I know a lot of other people were involved. I know Steve's hand is on it. I know Vicente was there every time at all of the performances. So I know a lot of other people were involved, but I just want to thank you for your leadership and getting this done this year. It's just been absolutely tremendous.
And a huge shout out to Alexi and to Diane Feldman as well, the teachers who really pulled it all together. Sure. So the summer athletics camps, I'll give you a flyby on that. You'll see in the right-hand corner, you'll see that some of the new branding that's happening for the high school level. You know, we've learned some things during the course of this first go, and one of them was that, you know, camp colors, like for the younger kids, doesn't translate as well for the high school kids. So we've started to make some changes as it relates to branding. I'm gonna, again, I'll just run through the bullets of reminding you. I know everybody here is familiar with the program, but I'll remind you and then we'll go into some new info. Created the partnership with the DDSF, DV, Wiseburn USD, and WEP. We co-envisioned, co-sponsored, co-created this together. All decisions were made together. DDSF is the employer of record and holds the requisite insurance. All coaches, staff, student athletes will pay W-2 compensation. Early registration window was open for WDV families. Registration for everyone will close June 10th so that we can do our final planning before camp opens. The cost is $350 per student for 6 weeks of camp. Financial aid was available to those who are eligible for the free or reduced lunch program. The cutoff date for that was March 8th. 15% of the current enrollment is scholarships that are almost entirely covered by the cost of camp. So those who are eligible for free meals were charged $25. So it had some sort of payment had to be made to make sure that they attend, and it was $25, and that was the overwhelming majority of the scholarships. The financial aid process was 100% manual, so kudos to all of the staff within both organizations who looked at everybody who submitted their forms and went one by one and determined who was eligible for those programs, and then provided coupon codes for those kids or for those families. And they're individual coupon codes, so they couldn't be used more than once. Shared with friends on social and such. The youth program is open to all incoming 4th through 8th graders from any district and anywhere. As of 5/26, enrollment was at 207 campers, 52% of max capacity. We have youth camp set at 400 for the max capacity. We need 250 students to break even, so we're getting closer and closer day by day. The campers will rotate between soccer, baseball, softball, basketball, and volleyball. In the first week of camp, coaches will determine the skill level and schedule the rotation based on skill. We're currently recruiting and onboarding student athletes and securing work permits through the district offices. Has to be signed off on by the superintendent. We went through a robust and joint interview process with leaders from every organization to find our program managers. So we have a program manager for the youth program and one for the high school program. Debbie Evans is our program manager for the youth program. We'll have 2 to 3 security staff, and the difference between 2 and 3 is capacity. How many students do we have? Right now, with the number that we have, we'll have 2. If we go over the 250, then we'll have 3. They'll be on site, and 1 certified nurse's assistant who's already been hired as well and identified. She graduated through Da Vinci's program as well, which is great. And she's been working with the school, so she understands the health procedures and protocols, reporting requirements and such. And all of the staff, including all security guards, regardless of whether they'll be a part of this program, will be trained in first aid, and that is coming up, I think it's June 6th. where we're doing the mandatory first aid training. And the reason we're doing all of the security staff within Da Vinci is in case someone's sick and someone else needs to cover, we need to make sure everyone has first aid training. There'll also be a health tent that's on site that's being stocked with the cots and everything that's needed, water, everything to make sure that we have a safe and healthy program. We'll be checking students in and out for the youth program. Only authorized people will be allowed to pick the kids up. Some families elected an enrollment to allow their kids to leave campus. We'll verify that with each student every day. Extended care is being provided by Right at School on the Aviation Elementary campus for those families who signed up. There'll be a meaningful handoff, meaning Debbie, the program manager, will walk those students in a line over to the fence. There'll be a checkout from the WDV athletics camp and a check-in to RAS to make sure that that transition happens and we account for all students at all times. And then students will just need to bring water, sunscreen, snack, and if they have baseball or softball equipment to bring that. If not, it's no problem. The high school training and development program, you can see the new marketing materials on the right-hand side. We're dubbing it the Weisburn plus Da Vinci Summer Athletics Training and Development Program. We suspect that our kids will all go to this at some point 25 years from now. It's designed to help students build skills and train their bodies and mind, technical training in their chosen sport by the varsity coaches. There's strength and conditioning taught by UCLA and UCLA Health in partnership with Exos, which they're already familiar with using, but we're stepping it up during this time as well with dedicated 2-hour blocks. There'll be nutrition and mindset classes as well. 3 locations, Weisburn Middle School, the gym, and WDV gym, and Connect Campus, 2 hours of training, 2 hours of strength and conditioning if they choose to do strength and conditioning. And then Angel Maxwell, who's also familiar with DV and a track coach, is going to be the program manager for the high school program. Here's just a snapshot of what enrollment looks like as of 5/26, and you guys can see the times for each of the different sessions. I won't go through this in locations. We're tracking it week by week. We recently added some questions to the enrollment process, like how did you hear about this? Because as you'll hear when Carla presents, there's marketing happening in many different fronts and we need to understand what's working. And so we know what will work next year. You'll see the things that are in red is where our enrollment is really low and we're either gonna have to collapse or cancel. You'll see the words cancel next to cheer, and you'll see girls basketball has 1 enrolled and cheer has 7. Chances are pretty good those will be canceled within the next few days. And we're looking to collapse the girls soccer into the boys soccer. And collapse softball into baseball. But notifying each family individually if they want to do that and if they can switch to that other time as well. So it's very hands-on process. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Carla.
Okay, I promise we're going to wrap up soon here. Just a quick, just a few remarks about the marketing and outreach. So we created a special Summer in Weisburn website. So all of the summer offerings, not only the athletic offerings, but also the enrichment camps are all on that kind of one-stop shop, summerinweisburn.org. We did a lot of different flyers and dedicated flyers. We delivered door-to-door to every household in Weisburn. We were at the Rock Around the Block event. We were at the WDV information meeting night for incoming families. So we've been reaching out to incoming families as well, our current families, incoming athletes. We're doing Meta and Facebook ads. So we're continuing to reach out to current high schools, students via all the announcement decks that we have, and just continue like multiple emails and social medias happening on a weekly basis. And then each of us, both Weisburn and Da Vinci, are cross-promoting in the monthly newsletters. It's been just really exciting partnership. These 4 entities working together, having a common goal. It's been really exciting. And some of the other, just to kind of wrap up what we've been talking about here, there's been all these WDV events. There's the WDV Athletics, Performing Arts. We're continuing to meet with the PTSA leaders, and we're doing newsletter articles and sharing content and quotes back and forth and sharing each other's lists, which has been really beneficial. Just an example of what that social collaboration and cross promotion looks like. So we each are promoting each other's and co-collaborating in our social media on our Instagram accounts. Some just really nice, beautiful things happening with like Weisburn PTSA sharing about thanking the Da Vinci students for their volunteerism, like here at the spectacular event. Da Vinci's promoting Rock Around the Block. And then we had this movie night. So it's just a lot of this cross collaboration. It's been so awesome to, especially as we've been out in the community, that, we're talking with younger families and they're getting some experience now, talking to older students, getting to know a little more about Da Vinci. And then our Da Vinci high school students are going back to the schools that they attended. And so it's been just a really beautiful process, and we're really excited to continue it next year and beyond. So just what it's going to look like in the future, continuing this cross collaboration, community days, the community conversations that Tom spoke about, and continuing with the performing arts articulation, the portrait of a learner that we spoke about, looking ahead already to actually next summer, and these joint performing arts opportunities, mentoring opportunities, exploring more career technical education articulation, particularly for grades 6 through 12, and joint funding opportunities where we can apply for grants together. Just continuously looking for ways that we can support each other and bring even more good. And we truly are better together. And we really thank you for taking this time and hearing. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer questions. And I think we're probably going on time right now. So thank you.
Any questions or comments from my colleagues? I have a comment, but I'll wait.
Massive thank you. Yeah, tremendous. Very exciting.
It's exciting.
I wanted to just take a moment, Carla and Christina, and say thank you. Thank you for spearheading this. This is amazing. All the events and offerings to our kids from K to 12, exceptional. I can feel it. I think you guys can feel it. I said it. The collaboration is in the air, right? I mean, it's truly amazing what you guys are doing, and the connectedness to the community is amazing. So just thank you, hats off, what an accomplishment, and the tremendous offerings to all our kids. And then I'm gonna say this, I've said it before, the sports and the arts are bringing us together. So just hats off to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I jump? Should I just,
Yeah,
should I start? So we have another long present, no, I'm just kidding. We thought it would be a good opportunity to have Noemi come and share some of the major facilities projects that are happening. We'll focus, I think, more on the ones that are probably going to affect both organizations specifically, but I think all affect all of us in some way. So we're going to do a quick highlight over all those. To give you all an opportunity, just for the record, you all have heard Noemi present. I think all of you have heard Noemi present. We've heard her present on multiple occasions, a lot monthly. Doing a phenomenal job in gathering, basically spearheading and quarterbacking all of these projects, and making sure that the district is following all the rules that we need to follow, and doing it the right way, and just being out in front of issues before they become issues. So really appreciate that, and appreciate her time and the time she puts into these presentations.
Thank you, Blake. Good evening, everybody. I know it's a lot, it's late, so I will try to be as brief as I can. So this is our agenda. These are the topics that I'll be covering this evening. I'll provide a very high-level brief update on our various Measure EE bond projects. I will then spend a little bit more time providing some updates regarding our Da Vinci Cafe, as well as the kitchen reconfiguration project. And then I will conclude with an update on our solar projects, which are non-bond funded. So with that, I'll start with the network infrastructure project. This is a 3-phase project. We are currently in phase 2. We're improving the data center located at Del Air Elementary School. That is the data center that basically supports the entire district. We recently awarded a contract to Echo Build, that is our contractor. We started the project on May 1st, and we are scheduled to complete on June 30th. This is a very minor project, but it's in preparation for the next phase, which is phase 3. And really what it entails is just a minor interior improvement updates, such as new flooring, some minor mechanical upgrades, lighting, and the big project here is installing a fire suppression system. Moving on to the network infrastructure project, this is a true overhaul of our entire network system. We are working with two solutions companies, providers, Cisco and NWN Carousel. We kicked off the project on March 21st, and the first step was to conduct assessment of the various parts and pieces of the network infrastructure project. The list of the assessments that have been completed to date is there. As you can see, we're looking not only at the physical infrastructure, but as well as the network and other areas as well. We are scheduled to, at this point now that the assessments have been completed, Cisco and NWN are in the process of developing a solutions plan, recommend solutions options for the district to consider. And they're also in the process of cost estimating. We're expecting to have both, basically the menu of items for the district to select from, as well as rough order of magnitude cost estimate for each one. That way the district can review internally as well as with the facilities board committee. And then ultimately our goal is to bring it to the board sometime in mid to late June for final approval. The intent is to start the rollout, or it will be a phased approach, and our goal is to start the summer, hopefully July 2024. The build out duration is yet to be determined. It'll be depending on the scope out from that menu of items, how much of that scope will be approved at this time or over what period of time. Moving on to Del Air Elementary School, we have several projects at Del Air. I'll start with the roof replacement project, and feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. The contractor that was recently hired is Best Construction Services. We recently had a pre-construction meeting on May 20th last week. We are scheduled to start construction of this project on June 14th, and the areas that you see highlighted in yellow reflect the entire roof replacement project. As you can see, we're going to be tearing out all the old roofs and replacing with a 30-year warranty roof. The goal is to start demolition immediately on June 14th, with the hot asphalt application starting immediately on June 15th. We're going to start on one half of the building, see if the cursor works. We're going to focus on this half of the building, lobby, library, classrooms, and NPR. And then our next hot asphalt application will be this building and the dates that I provided there. And then eventually we'll move on. Shortly after that, we'll move on to the CDC as well as the portables. You can see here, this is our site logistics plan that we share with our contractor on May 20th. We're going to be using the vehicle gate off of 123rd Street for access. Contractor access and staging. They're going to set up construction fencing. You're seeing two separate areas for staging, vehicle parking. We're going to keep it under one fenced area. That way we're not showing two separate ones. As I mentioned, we have several projects happening starting this summer, so we want to make sure that contractors are in their designated areas. Our substantial completion is August 16th. That's the majority of the scope of work, with some minor punch list and closeout going through September 15th of 2024. Moving on to Del Air, this is a TK conversion project. The scope of work is minimal, and it is also starting this summer. It's taking this oversized classroom that you see here to the right. It's divided by an accordion wall. And the only thing that we're doing to this classroom to make it TK adequate is installing a single occupancy restroom, as well as an exterior sink. Well, in the interior of the classroom, but outside of the restroom, another sink, some base cabinets, and you can see this line here. we are tying into the sewer system in this existing restroom. Again, minimal scope starting June 14th with an estimated final completion of September 10th, 2024. Our larger project at Del Air is the minor modernization and safety and security project. The scope of work for this project entails a full refresh of all interior finishes from ceiling tiles, flooring, lighting, painting, doors, tackable wall panels, as well as providing flexible furniture for all classrooms. We will be upgrading all restrooms, other aging infrastructure, as well as providing all new HVAC units for all spaces, new audio-visual equipment, low voltage systems for alarm door access controls, and public address and clocks. We are currently we have completed the design development phase. There are 4 phases of design. We're currently, we had paused for a while. We finished the 100% DD phase back in December. We decided to do a thorough cost estimate of the project, bring in a lease-back builder to assist us with pre-construction services. And the board recently, I don't know what the cursor is stuck there. I don't know if we can move that. Thank you. The board recently awarded a contract to Erickson Hall at the May 16th board meeting. They're bringing them in to provide, as I mentioned, pre-construction services. That entails constructability review, assistance, cost estimating, as well as helping us develop a true schedule, a true phasing schedule. We do not have interim housing planned currently for this project, which is why it's important to involve the builder at this stage of the game to assist us with defining all of those aspects and to ensure that the project is within budget. We are expected to resume the final phase, which is the construction document phase, next week. We are currently in the process of executing contracts with Erickson Hall, which is why we haven't started quite yet. We are scheduled to submit our drawings the first week of October. We're anticipating the review process will likely take through the end of April of 2025 with a planned construction of the modernization in summer of 2025. Now, this is currently a year-long process because we have to phase the portion of the work. We can't complete it all during one summer. But as soon as we continue to work with the builder, the lease-back builder will hopefully consolidate some of that, compress that schedule, and bring back some updates at a future board meeting. Moving on to Holly Glen Elementary School. This is another TK conversion project. The scope of work involves taking the CDC building, which is the Child Development Center, taking 6 undersized classrooms and repurposing or retrofitting those classrooms to create 4. You can see the proposed plan down here. 4 adequately sized TK classrooms. Each classroom will have their own single occupancy restroom, as well as a space for collaboration/workroom for each teacher. Construction documents have been completed as well. Plans and specifications were submitted to DSA last week, and today we received notification from DSA that they've accepted our project and they're going to start review. The review process will likely run through December through the end of the year. This project, because there is structural work involved, DSA, one of the comments that we just received from GSA last week is that they're going to want this to go through the California Geological Survey review process. That means that we have to submit our geotech report. In addition to DSA, there goes another 4 or 5 months of another agency reviewing our plans and our geotechnical report. Fortunately, DSA has agreed to run a parallel review. That way there is no delay in their approval. So we've had 2 meetings with preliminary meetings with DSA, and this is the first time that they're bringing this up. So this came completely as a surprise. We specifically asked early on if this was going to be required, and they said no. Well, they changed their mind. They're not to do that. We expect to start construction January 6th of 2026 with a final plan completion of September 9th, 2025. Moving on to the Weisberg Da Vinci soccer field project. Very exciting project. We recently brought in a contractor. The board awarded a contract to Byron Davy. We are using materials by Tenkati, a very known field turf and other material provider. We had a pre-construction meeting on May 20th as well. Today we had our actual construction, on-site construction meeting. They mobilized today. We had the contractor, the inspector, the architect, everyone here on site. We started to deliver some of the equipment. Porta potties came in, fencing starts tomorrow, surveying is going to continue through the rest of the week. They'll start doing their stormwater pollution prevention plan. And that'll be the scope for the remaining part of this week. Grading officially starts on June 3rd on demolition and grading, with the first hauling truck coming in on Wednesday, June 5th. We understand that June 6th, we have several graduations. They all know that it's not a working day and no one will be on site. They'll make up the day on a Saturday. We are expecting about 5,500 cubic yards of export. That translates to approximately 400 hauling trucks over a period of 4 days. So basically 100 loads per day, if not more. This is what I heard today. We plan to start the project at 6:30 a.m. daily. I will have our project manager, senior project manager, and our project manager here daily managing the project as well as myself. And we expect for the trucking to be done by 1:30 each day to make sure that it's done before pickup. They will pause for an hour. That's why they're starting at 6:30. So they'll take they'll start to export some of the dirt out, but they will pause during drop off in the morning for about an hour, even though we don't necessarily need an hour, but we'll make sure that we provide an hour and then they'll resume and then again stop at 1:30. And we hopefully will be done within 4 days of this. The hauling route has been reviewed and approved by Da Vinci staff. A huge thank you to Vicente and Nancy, who have been instrumental in helping us get this project out of the ground and providing meeting space for our weekly construction meetings, as well as temporary office space for our inspector of record and our contractors. So this is definitely a partnership. We're excited to be working with them.
No issue with the city that's also got going Holly route. We're good there.
Nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Where's the dirt?
Make sure.
Your house.
Freedom, because I have space for 55 cubic.
You do? It's not great dirt. That's why we're hearing.
You don't know though where it's going.
No, because today we had our meeting, they were supposed to give me the entire plan where it's going, hauling route, the number of trucks. They didn't have that fully planned out. They only had they were only able to provide a verbal update. So some of this information is forthcoming, so I will provide that.
Has there been communication to the community about the truck routes?
No, not yet, but we are definitely, I'm working with Erica Porter on that, and we'll make sure that information goes out. Again, I've been requesting, Vicente was there when I brought it up since our pre-construction meeting again today. At least I got the actual number of trucks, that I could report that to Vicente and the Da Vinci team, that we are gonna get that information out. And that was as of today, we had our meeting today.
I was gonna say, I think the good news too is the location. It's gonna be less impact to the residential area and more impact to the businesses. So we're gonna have to take a note of that. But I mean, I think just getting basic information out to everyone's gonna be important,
Absolutely.
because there's gonna be path travel
Yeah,
type stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
also gonna Boulevard right already is
Yeah.
impacted.
There'll be some trucks staging off of El Segundo. So again, the first day will definitely be a lessons learned. We'll be able to adapt and adjust accordingly. So this is some renderings. If you haven't already seen them, this is the Weisberg Da Vinci soccer field. As you can see, this is a view towards the parking lot. To the left, you have the gym. To the right, Da Vinci Schools. The project is a field-only project. We are doing some concrete flat work for future bleachers. The project does not currently include the installation or the purchase of bleachers. We are preparing the area though. The concrete will be completed as part of this project. We will also have some perimeter fencing as well as some netting along the back of the goals. We are running infrastructure for potential future scoreboard that will also be there as well, but we do not have a scoreboard as part of this project. The sports lighting is already there, so at least that portion is complete. We are exploring a couple of options where the scoreboards will be. The drawings that were approved by the Division of State Architects show them going on basically right there. That's not the size of the scoreboard, but that's just to reflect the potential location. Since then, Da Vinci staff has also involved Nectronics to come out, and we've conducted a sidewalk with Nectronics as well as PBK, our architect for this project, to come up with some potential other locations, potentially here in this corner or in this here, but I think this one has already been ruled out because of these buildings. So here are a couple of other renderings. You can see this is an aerial view. Okay. Moving on to the 135th and Aviation Sports Complex. This is a rendering of the main entry to the sports complex off of the Weisboro Middle School parking lot. We're going to be using that parking lot as actual parking for the sports complex. The finishes for this building still are in the works. They're still being decided on. We have completed the design development phase. We have also selected a builder, pre-construction, to come in to assist the district with pre-construction services. That contract was also awarded on May 16th to Erickson Hall. We are already in the construction documents phase, and we anticipate submitting our plans to the Division of State Architect on June 24th, with a planned construction start of March 10, 2025, and hopefully be done by the end of next school year. Now that we have Erickson Hall under contract, we'll be able to take a closer look at that schedule and see if there's any way to compress it. A few other renderings. As you can see, the sports complex will include the main entry building here that I mentioned off of the Weisboro Middle School parking lot. It'll include restrooms, a warming kitchen, storage. And then here we have a full-size NFHS compliant soccer field, as well as two U12. You can't really see it from this rendering, but they'll be also striped for two U12 fields.
Also CIF approved soccer field.
Yes. CIF approved, I'm sorry. Yes. And we have a little league and a softball field here.
Can I just point out too, the
Yes.
gray area is gonna be turf as well, so it looks like it's not, but it will.
Correct. It'll be a different
Fences will
color.
be removed so that you could actually practice, have soccer
Oh,
practices and use that whole area to kick a ball around.
Correct. This whole area here, it'll also include scoreboards for the different fields, sports lighting, as you can see, as well as dugouts and batting cages. You can kind of see the batting cage here, and there's another one back there.
And I mean, also that the field there, the softball field will be a CIF approved softball field too for the girls, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct. Different view here. And, Neil, we are working on, I believe it was you that brought up installing a digital marquee on the corner, I'm sorry, of 135th and Aviation.
Great.
Oh gosh, did I go the other way? I went the other way. So off of the, not this corner, that corner over here.
It's just the most traffic corner that we.
Correct, and it would be a very tall
Great.
marquee. I wanted to highlight this area here. As you can see, this is the M&O shops. This is where SLC Futures Program currently is. As part of the sports complex, those buildings will have to be, the current SLC Futures building will have to be demolished, and the portables that were leased and district owned are being relocated. In this area where the batting cages are, we also have the IT portable, which was recently relocated and refurbished. Which is a perfect segue to the SLC Success Learning Center and Futures Program relocation. So this is the current condition. As you can see, this is where the sports field will go. This is the existing buildings. We have the main building here, a 12 by 40 restrooms plus 2 district-owned 24 by 40 portables, which the 2 portables along with the restroom building will be relocated to the Da Vinci Connect site. And the goal was initially to house the SLC future program here in this now district-owned 60 by 40 portable. However, once we took a deeper look into the program, we determined that there's no way they're all going to fit there. And as a result, we're going to have to bring in the 2 24 by 40 portables. The plan was not initially to bring them. Here you can see the Da Vinci Connect site. Now we have taken the 60 by 40 portable, which is essentially, this turquoise area here is the existing preschool playground. Immediate adjacent to it is the 60 by 40 portable that would be relocated to this section here. This area is already paved. It's a parking lot. We're going to be taking a portion of the parking lot right up to the existing fencing to relocate the 60 by 40 there, bring the 2 20 by 40 portables, and then bring in the 12 by 40 restroom building. This will create a campus within a campus with its own entrance and security points, but it will allow the district programs to run efficiently at this location.
They have field access.
They will. As part of this project, when we brought this to the Weisberg Board of Trustees, they were aware that a future facilities master plan project was also planned for the Del Air fields. The addition of 2 NFHS baseball and softball fields here. We tasked PBK, the architect for this project, to do an overlay of the future facilities master plan for this site for the fields, as well as the SLC to see if those 2 can cohabitate. And here it is. We have determined that we can make both work. Right now, the program is, and this is probably the Del Air Fields project, is potentially a phase 4 or a series D. We're currently in series A, the first phase of the bond project, so there's still quite a few years out before we touch these fields. Okay, questions? Moving on to the, yes.
Can I just make one comment? Do you mind going back real quickly?
Not a problem.
We would just love to continue to work with you as this gets planned. We want to make sure the Connect K-8 kids have access and opportunity to play.
This should dramatically improve their field.
Yeah.
I mean, that field needs to be improved. Let's just.
Only one way to go, yes.
Yeah.
I had a question. What happens to the preschool program that's there now?
The preschool program will remain. Right now, they're currently using the 60 by 40 classroom or portable building. We are moving them. So from that portable, there is an empty, well, not empty, but there's a available
Want to
classroom.
speak to that?
Sure.
There's 4 classrooms that are currently attached. We're just going to use one as an
Yeah.
office space.
And the play area?
The play area will remain.
That's that little cutout.
Yeah, it's the fenced in.
The turquoise basically represents the perimeter fencing. Much of it we're not touching. This is all existing. We're just going to modify this section here rather than going across where 60 by 40 building is. We're just going to turn it here and then run it. But they'll have their own separate entrance.
Just a question for the DV folks. The Connect parking is probably not using that area in the back very much, I'm hoping.
No, there's
So-
several parking spaces
It's
available.
It is full.
It's full.
Well, we've been there multiple times a day and it's generally not full in the back. However, even though we are going to take some of this parking stalls here, we are going to add those parking stalls here.
Yeah, that was my hope, that this was.
So they will not lose, if anything, they might lose 2 to 4 parking stalls. But PBK is currently trying to see if there's a way not to do that.
We're trying to minimize the loss.
Correct. So there will be some parking lot modifications to make that work. So we'll stripe in that area where currently there's no parking stalls striped. Okay, moving on to Da Vinci Cafe, the reconfiguration project.
I guess with that parking, sorry, Naomi, I mean, you've got,
No problem.
because you're adding more people now. So we're gonna need more parking. I think we should pay attention to the parking. I know right now a lot of people park in the park, car park. And we don't seem to.
During the school day,
You see, I mean, parents park there all the time.
because all this whole back area here is striped for parking and there's never any vehicles there. So all of that is open,
That's true.
as well as several stalls here. Like I said, I've gone early morning, mid-afternoon, late, different times of, of the month, and it's never full.
It's where the staff parks and families don't typically want to walk all the way back and around to the front, so they'll park out by the park. It's an easier access.
The SLC program doesn't require too much parking spaces.
4, 5.
Yeah.
Or the drop off for the.
Yes.
It's more traffic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The front parking lot is full.
Absolutely, you can even see it from this picture. They all park here and hardly anyone parks back here. The ones that are parked here are the ones that are in these buildings. You're welcome. Okay, cafe, I'm sorry. We have brought in PBK to assist us with this project. The scope of work is minimal. The health department came out for an inspection. They determined that plans for this space were never submitted to the health department. Since then, we have brought in PBK. We have a proposal for architectural engineering services at $18,700, including reimbursable expenses. Our status of the plans is 99% complete. Our goal is to submit to the health department. We're hoping to submit by Friday of last week, but I was told that they needed to modify some items on the areas in the actual drawing, so they will be submitted this week. If not, I'm tracking as of June 3rd, just in case. Either way, we're hoping it'll be by this week. The review process is very short. It's not like GSA, it's about 20 to 30 days max. And this is such a small project that we hope that it'll be completed sooner. In terms of construction, we're hoping to start summer of 2024, perhaps sometime in July. Again, it's not a whole lot of scope, and hopefully be done by September 2024. Once we have health department approval, then we'll be able to determine how quickly we can go and provide an update at that point. We did receive a cost estimate for this project. It's approximately $38,000. It does not include the new equipment or the relocation of existing. We're going to have to empty the entire space because our current flooring, for example, does not meet health department requirements. It's luxury vinyl tile currently, has to be epoxy flooring with coat base, and that currently, those are just little things that do not.
It did pass with the first health inspector, it failed on the second health inspector.
Correct. Okay. I am tracking an all-in cost estimate of $85,000. This is on the higher side, but I'd rather err on the higher side than give you a low number. This does include hard costs and soft costs, so this does take into account your design fees as well as agency fees and potential minor improvements to that space.
So Noemi, so we plan to have the cafe up and running by fall of 2024?
That is the goal.
Okay.
Correct.
Matt, please make sure you check in with Jo. She's got the new coffee release. So.
So you can see what the improvements are here. Again, just really quick, that's existing, and this is what we are improving. Some of the minor improvements required, like I mentioned, it's flooring. We're gonna have to relocate the blenders that are here, run new plumbing to add a hand sink. That's separate from the 3-compartment sink that is already there. That is a requirement from the health department. We have to tie in the espresso machine to an actual sewer line. Right now it drains into a bucket that did not fly with the health department, so we're gonna have to pour through the wall.
That's how Starbucks does it.
We're gonna have to pour through this wall and tie into this drain. So, yeah, I'm not gonna go through the entire list, but you can see here. what
And
some of the
Carlette got us a
requirements are.
grant to cover these costs. And there's some other costs to help with the kitchen, but.
Thank you.
Welcome. Moving on to the kitchen construction project. Again, PBK is working on this project. They provided a proposal for architectural engineering services last week, $372,800, including reimbursable expenses. Schematic design has started. We are hoping to meet with, I believe an email went out earlier today to schedule a meeting with Da Vinci staff to review the progress set next week on Monday. Let me highlight. The scope of this project involves essentially these 3 areas. Right now, this is the existing conditions. This space, which in the original plans that were never completed, was supposed to be the actual main kitchen. Again, this is storage. Nothing has been completed. Right now, it's even exposed concrete. This area here is the existing servery. We will have some minor improvements to the multi-purpose room, and I'll speak to them in just a second. And then just for reference, the cafe is directly below here. In terms of health department, we're targeting, well, DSA actually first, hopefully at the end of December. We're going to try to move quickly on all design phases. I have received a commitment from PBK that they're going to try to do it within 5 months, the entire design process of all 4 phases. Targeting submitting to the health department by fall of 2024 with a planned construction start of June 2025 and be done by the end of next year. Again, this project will require 2 agencies, not only health department and DSA, which is why it cannot go as fast as we would all like it to go. Before I go into the funding, this is the proposed scope. The storage facility will now be the main preparation kitchen with walk-in freezers, dishwashing area, heating and cooking for prep. We'll have double doors. This only shows 1, but our goal is to install double doors out into the servery. There'll be some modifications to the servery. We'll have to create a new storage space for all dry goods. And they're looking at potentially doing it somewhere here within the multi-purpose room, as well as some audiovisual upgrades to this space. We did receive a ROM and cost estimate for this project at approximately $4.5 million all in. Again, it's erring on the higher side. It does exclude some items that may potentially be triggered by DSA, such as path of travel upgrades, ADA upgrades to the nearest restrooms. Because of the green building code, we might need to do some other, minor signage upgrades to the parking lot, as well as potentially adding landscaping and EV charging stations. As you know, the Da Vinci Weisborn parking lot does not, we're not moving forward with the solar project, so it's not something that we would, otherwise we would have been addressing the EV chargers as part of that project. Yes.
For the all-in cost of 4.5 million, does that include the servery or not?
Yes, that includes everything, including NPR.
And if you partitioned off the servery, do you have an approximate cost of that?
This is a very high level ROM. We don't have, remember, we don't have actual plans yet. We're just in schematic design. At the end of schematic design, we'll be able to provide a more defined cost estimate. And by design development, you'll have detailed construction cost.
I think that the kitchen was 1 million and the rest was the servery.
That was exactly it.
Dream on.
Potentially.
Yeah, if all.
So here's a breakdown of hard and soft costs. As you can see, hard alone is about $3.4 million and $1.1 million towards soft costs. This will require DSA, so the reviews, so we will have to bring additional players like an inspector of record, geotechnical, lab of record as well. So there's additional costs that are built into that soft cost. I wanted to mention that we have been working with Da Vinci regarding their strong workforce partnership grant. It is our understanding that the grant has $389,000 remaining that we were hoping to use towards design fees. That would essentially cover all of the PBK proposal for this project. What we have also learned is that the remaining amount of $1.2 million has to also be encumbered. So in order to keep the $389,000, we have to encumber 1.2. And initially we thought we could just encumber it by June 30th and, spend it at a later date. But now that Da Vinci has obtained further clarification from the grant, from the Strong Workforce Partnership Grant Agency, payment has to follow within, I believe, 60 days, might be 90. But it's very quick. So we are only in schematic design. It's extremely impossible for us to encumber that kind of money. We don't have contracts to encumber. One of the requests was, can the Weisburn board make a commitment to encumber the 1.2? But the fact that we have to spend the money within 60 to 90 days is what makes it impossible on our end, at least from the design perspective.
Can the equipment be purchased?
That
to
is,
encumber the fund?
that is what Vicente and I immediately thought of. Well, can we encumber equipment? Problem is, again, we're only schematic. Exactly. We would be spending money without really having a plan. And is that really wise?
What about management services?
Program management?
Yeah.
Potentially. I don't know all of the details. Michael has been working directly with the grant writers.
Nelson, yes, what's program management?
Our services for managing these
Since they're
projects or
working on it,
assisting.
Gotcha.
Can some of that be offset?
Yeah, thank you.
Now, the parameters of the grant, no other project, this could be reallocated.
It's specific to this project. So anything that has to do with this project, yes, but we cannot bring in other projects. Even the cafe, we could use that design fees and pay for that as well. And the problem is it has to be spent or at least encumbered by June 30th. So
Doesn't the kitchen need a large soccer field?
right in the middle of the survey.
Can we put it in with the landscaping piece that you mentioned?
Kitchen equipment is pretty expensive, but you're taking a risk, not having it designed, right?
Look like you're not. What is the source of these funds? Is it bond funds?
Strong, well.
Combined.
Right, it's combined, but
With what?
the Weisburn needs to answer that, but for us, it's the Strong Workforce Partnership Grant. There's an equipment, Carla, correct me if I'm wrong, there's an equipment side and then there's a construction side.
Not this grant program. No, that's a CTFP grant. It's,
Okay.
yeah, it's a career technical education grant that by the California Community Colleges. Consortium.
But we could apply it here.
Yeah, but the problem is the June 30 deadline.
If it was only to encumber funds, that may be doable. But the fact that we have to actually provide invoices and spend it within that time period makes it almost impossible on our end.
So Brian, just to respond to your question, it would be a combination of obviously the scrap fund, but bond funds. We made a decision to use bond funds. The only thing is, I think, probably to go back because the dollar amount is price fixed. that are shocking us a little bit. There you go.
This is $2024.
It accounts for escalation to the
Yeah.
point of construction. That is accounted for in this one.
Joe had a really good question here, Noemi,
Mhm.
the potential upgrades, like to the restroom EV charging that might be triggered by a DSA review. Is that at all considered right now in the soft cost of the, no?
It's
So
excluded,
It's excluded.
correct. So
In the soft, it's excluded in the, I certainly understand the hard cost, but it's excluded even in the soft cost.
it's excluded everywhere. But I increased that. I think it was like 4.1, so I added a little bit just in case. I don't think that will cover all of it, but we're hoping to be able to go back to DSA and say, this is a fairly new site, the parking lot is compliant, this is a small project. We'll argue any of those requirements. So the restrooms might be all compliant. PBK has yet to verify staff restrooms. The student restrooms, we have confirmed that they're all compliant, so there's no need for any ADA upgrades, but staff restrooms have to be verified. Yes.
If the design fees of about 380,000 are encumbered and spent by the June 30th, 2024 deadline, and we can't spend the other 1.26 million, do we have to return back the other 380,000 in design fees that we've already?
No, you
spent?
just, my understanding, is that you return the portion that you did not spend. That's what we were told, right? Vicente?
Michael's been providing some updates. We haven't had the latest up. He had reached out and I don't know, maybe others, sounds like others got other information, but I mean, at this point, we were waiting for that more information related to what we can do legally to acquire the funds, including any types of commitments, like official commitments by resolution that the board could take. And what the extent of payback would be if we're not allowed to do that. If we're not allowed to commit funds instead of encumbering funds, what's the payback or what portion of those funds would be available to us with the expenditures we are committing to?
So our goal was to bring the PBK proposals for both the cafe and the kitchen at the next June meeting. That's what we're targeting right now. We're hoping to have a response from the council that is working on the grant. They've elevated that question. I know that Michael went to the grant agency and then the agency went to a council to get a response.
And if I add up the two, the 389 and the 1.2, both of those sums of money are fully eligible to spend in this project.
Yes.
So that's 1.7, that's a little bit under half of the project, so, okay. It's either 4.5 or 3 million.
It sounds like it's
2.8. Okay.
With no other questions on that project, I'm moving on to the last projects. This will be fast. The solar project, we have 4 projects at each site, one at Del Air, Aviation, Holly Glen, and Weisberg Middle School. The first bullets that you see are very similar in terms of where we are. We're 100% complete of design construction documents phase. This is an over-the-counter. It doesn't require a full DSA submittal. It goes a little bit faster, but DSA has been delaying on when we can take it to over-the-counter. We were scheduled for May. They pushed it to June, which then in turn pushed everything from a June start to now a July, which it just hurt our project by a month. We have been meeting with SiteLogic and their construction team on a weekly basis, trying to find ways to compress that schedule. And this schedule now reflects the most current information that will be going out to the sites. It has already started going out. And we're confident that this is it. This is as good as it's gonna get, but it's still doable. You're gonna see 3 fence line colors, red, green, and yellow. Red is the initial footprint of the solar carports. It's a 2-part project. The first part is solar carport and EV charging stations. Every single one of these projects that I'm going to discuss that way I can repeat it will include the carports as well as 4 EV charging stations at every site. The red, again, fence line represents the initial footprint and how long that footprint is going to be. In that way, Del Air is not a problem because there's no summer school. We're gonna have a lot of construction project happening this summer. So we decided to start with this project first. Green, the fencing scales down when they're working on lights, wiring, and inverters. We're gonna be working on that from August 9th or August 1st through the 9th. And yellow is when it really scales down and we're able to turn back all of this parking. And this is when they're working on the final electrical work, and that's from August 12th through the 30th. So we'll be able to return the entire parking lot by the start of school for this site. Moving on to Holly Glen, we just shifted some of the sequencing of the projects. I'm not going to go over what I mentioned, but I will tell you this project is scheduled to start on the 22nd. It will bleed into the school year a little bit through September 10th, but by then we have scaled down significantly to the yellow areas, as you can see here, from August 20th through September 10th. So again, very little impact to the site as well. Aviation Elementary School, this project will start at the end of July. It will bleed into the school year, September 10th, with a final completion of October 30th. The good news with aviation in the next site, which is Weisberg Middle School, is that we'll be able to use the adjacent dirt lot of the future home of the sports complex for parking. We've already started mitigating that space so that we can have it ready for parking when the time comes. And then finally, Weisberg Middle School, start of construction August 5th with substantial completion September 26th. We'll be able to scale down the week, that's basically right when students start August 26th through 9/5. That's when the green fencing will be scaled down. And then from 9/6 through 9/26, it'll be the minimal footprint, as you can see here. But again, they'll be able to use the dirt parking lot. That's all I have.
That's part one, there's part two.
No, that's all I have.
No, I mean, really quickly, the IRA amount, do you remember how much that was?
I believe, if I recall correctly, it's 3.5 million.
Something like that, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Noemi, for that thorough update. Any comments or questions? I think you addressed most of our comments or questions during that presentation, so thank you.
Well done.
Now, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you for some closing remarks and a commitment, hopefully, from the rest of the board, right, for our next meeting?
Yeah, don't got any dates though, have you yet?
No, but I know we're looking at the month of October, right?
Yes, that's right. Well, thank you. Just want to say, I think that was an excellent meeting. We're slightly over. We covered a lot of ground. I think, Noemi, there was no way you were going to be able to present all of that in, I think, 10 or 15 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah, it was never happening. So really appreciate that thorough presentation. Also really appreciate you, Christina, and the tremendous difference that you've made to our schools and our community this year. And lastly, but the first presentation by Tom van der Ark, and I think very important really to be getting ahead as much as we can get ahead, but really getting an understanding on AI and the impact it's going to have on our educational system. And I think we've actually got a real opportunity here to really lead the nation in many ways as really we start to look at everybody who's grappling with AI and how to use this. I see this with corporate America, which is who I deal with in my day job. Everybody's struggling. And I think by being proactive and thoughtful here, we do have an opportunity to have our school district leading the nation in their ability to understand and how to use AI and how to educate people on the use of AI. So very, very timely. So I just want to thank everybody on the board for coming, both boards. Leslie, I think you're online somewhere, so we see you somewhere in the back of the screen. So appreciate everybody coming today from both boards. And I think, what a difference a year makes, right?
Well said.
So happy to be working here, working collaboratively between Weisberg and Da Vinci. Impressed with the amount of construction that's going on. It's a tremendous challenge, but I do feel we're building something very special here in the community. And again, big thanks to Christina Joubert and what she's brought to us in terms of the art side of things this year and into the future. So with that, You wanna try and get a date? The next board meeting, joint board meeting, we're gonna go for October.
October, yeah. I think October.
It'll never happen here and now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna suggest October 15th, because that's the only day I can make.
We're trying to help Allison and Wendy here.
October 15th.
But, yeah,
We all got calendars that are.
I can do it. I'm in.
I'll say.
October 15 looks good.
Shockingly, yes.
it's so far ahead, I mean, as crazy as it may sound, maybe
We'll have to
we
do it.
take a look and see if we can make that work. All right.
Ryan's good.
I'm good, yeah, but also.
Look at that, October 15th.
There you go.
October 15th, 6 o'clock.
Yep, 6 o'clock.
There you go. Perfect. Ready, work for you?
All right. So we have a date, October 15th, 6 o'clock, will be the next Wiseburn Da Vinci board meeting.
I would love to mention, thank you as a meeting.
I'll give you a motion to adjourn the meeting, Nelson.
All right, that's second.
You have a second.
Yeah. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.